Over the last couple of days, I've been testing the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro against the GoPro Hero 13 that just came out to see how they stack up. I mostly use action cameras for motovlogging, but in this vlog I tried to compare them in a couple different scenarios so you can see how they compare against each other. The first test I wanted to do is a weight test to see how much each camera weighs with the accessories that I need to connect it to my helmet. DJI is about 160 and the GoPro with its case weighs in at about 209, so kind of heavy. Both cameras do turn on pretty fast, but I wanted to see which one was faster. So the GoPro's on the left, DJI is on the right. And the DJI turns on pretty much instantly while the GoPro takes about 2 or 3 seconds. The next function I wanted to test was a quick record function, so when you're trying to capture shots really quickly, this is pretty important. GoPro's on the left, DJI is on the right, and you can see from the time codes that the DJI pretty much has a 2 to 3 second head start on the GoPro. Next up was a battery drain test. This is about 2 minutes into the test. Both cameras were recording at 1080p, 60 frames per second. Both cameras were charged to 100% prior to starting. I left them to record for a couple hours, and when I came back, the DJI's battery was completely drained, while the GoPro was at 5%, and it gave me a notice that it had shut off because it was too hot. So it made it to 5% battery before dying. I was a little surprised at this, as the ambient temperature in the house was 74 degrees the entire time, which I didn't think was like super hot, so there was no reason really for the GoPro to shut off on me because of heat at 1080p 60 frames per second, which is what both cameras were recording in, so I thought that was a little strange, but let's see how much each camera recorded. So as you can see, the GoPro recorded about 1 hour and 39 minutes before it shut off at 5%. And the DJI recorded about 2 hours and 28 minutes worth of footage split across 3 different files, and it didn't shut off on me due to heat, so props to DJI. Next up was some low light tests, and from what I can tell the differences between the two footage, the GoPro is on the left, the DJI is on the right. To me, it definitely seems like the DJI footage is brighter in the dark, but the GoPro footage looks a little bit more clear to me. Like when I'm pausing to look at the paint lines on the road, they just look a little bit less fuzzy in the GoPro image, although they do look darker. I also want to mention that I'm not putting any type of color grading or other filters on this footage. This is just what it looks like when it comes out of the camera. So yes, you could make this footage prettier if you wanted to, but for the sake of the comparison video, I'm not going to do that. And again, the cameras are recording at 1080p 60 frames per second, and they're both in the wide angle setting. Alright, next up is an audio comparison between the two cameras while I'm using them for motovlogging. One thing to note about the DJI is that I'm using a Bluetooth microphone, the DJI Mic 2, so it's a wireless microphone inside my helmet. And for the GoPro, I'm going to be using the media mod with a wired microphone, which is the same setup that I've been using in most of my motovlog videos. We'll see if this mic placement actually works. Last time I had it really like clipped to my chin skirt and kind of just pointed up, but that was just way too loud, even after turning down the volume, so we're hoping this is going to be a little better. Alright, this is an audio test using the DJI Mic 2 with the DJI Osmo Action 5. See which camera sounds better, a Bluetooth microphone or a wired mic. It is a bit windy outside today, so hopefully this will be a good test for it. And this is what the audio sounds like using the GoPro wired microphone. Yes, this is the original Movo mic that I talked about in my motovlog X amount of years ago. It is a bit windy today, so hopefully that puts the microphone to the test. Alright, I gotta say, riding with this thing here, a little bit is what takes some getting used to. I can see it in my vision constantly. It does log off a little part of my view, so I have to find yet another placement for it, but I'm like kind of running out of ideas. That's the only disadvantage of the Mic 2. It is large. Well, there we have it, folks. I think we have a clear winner here, and that's the GoPro. I do find the DJI Mic 2 to be just a little bit too bulky to fit inside the helmet comfortably anywhere. I wear an extra small, so it's a little bit difficult. But I do think you can get great audio out of the DJI Mic 2, considering I'm using it right now to record my voice, and it sounds great for indoor purposes. I just think it struggles a little bit when actually placed in an action setting. For now, if you're interested in the wired microphone that I'm using on the GoPro, I'll leave that linked down below. But just know that you will need to get the media mod. You can't just plug it directly into the GoPro and hope to get good audio out of it. Whereas the DJI Mic 2, you don't need to plug it into any camera, it works wirelessly. I'm really curious to see in terms of color grading. I don't use flat profiles when I'm filming, I use like the vivid profiles. That usually just means I have to do less in post. So I am curious to see, like for example, the color of my Revit jacket, it's super red. I want to see which one brings out the colors more. I'll do a direct comparison side by side so you could see. I think sometimes colors, they just come down to personal preference too. I think without color grading, you can see a difference between the cameras, but after a little bit of color grading, and by color grading, I mean I just bumped up the saturation a little bit and decreased the highlights, bumped down the shadows a little bit, so very, very minor stuff on both cameras. The footage looks almost identical. I don't think anybody but a professional photographer or videographer would be able to tell the difference between these two cameras. They're both extremely good. I mean, I've seen other comparison videos, and honestly, it's just super nitpicky stuff. Like, to the average eye, it looks great. Where I can really see a difference is more in the nighttime shots than anything. So that's my point of view right now on these two cameras as just an average user of them. I will leave links down in the description to both of them if you're interested in getting either one. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!